Hey there, and welcome to A Well-Rounded Life, the podcast, a space for creative entrepreneurs seeking an intentional life and biz filled with grace, passion, and purpose. I'm your host, Geomyra. I'm a mama, wife, dessert fanatic, and on the ultimate mission to get you closer to your idea of what it means to live a well-rounded life. Right here is where you'll find curated resources, quick tips, and relatable stories, no matter what season of life you're in. So hang out with me for a bit and let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. I've been putting off this episode for a while now, but I think it's time that I formally introduce myself since we've been kicking it for a while now. But before we do that, I wanted to say thank you for all of your reviews, your subscribes, and the whole bit. Your support of this podcast means the world to me, especially since we are just getting started. My commitment to this podcast and to you, my tribe, is to give you what you need in order for you to live more well-rounded so you can do more of what you love. So if there is a show topic that you want to discuss, hit me up so we can make that happen. Okay, so let's get into today's episode. When outlining the show topics for season 1, I wanted to dedicate an episode that I can finally tell my story, the raw, authentic truth of my journey and what I've been up to most recently. So make sure you listen all the way to the end. Grab your coffee, rewarm it if you are a mama because I know the struggle, or pour your favorite drink if it's nighttime, and let's chat. Two friends getting to know each other a little bit better as we both continue to build and be the best versions of ourselves while walking in our purpose. Geomyra. Who is Geomyra? What is a Geomyra? Well, Geomyra is a daughter to George and Myra, my birth parents. My mother is deceased, and she passed away when my daughter was an infant, which I will share more on that season of my life and all of that bit when I am in a better headspace to do so. I'll do that on a future episode. My mom, it's important to know that she was my world. She was my everything, and she was admired and loved by anyone that knew her. And I wish I could find pretty and elegant words to describe my relationship with my father. But I promised myself that this episode would be filled with 100% truth because my tribe deserves that, and I deserve that. Like many children out there, unfortunately, my relationship with my father at this point is non-existent. It's very complicated. He's around. He has a relationship with my sister. But he doesn't have one with myself, my younger brother, or the older brother that we recently found out about. My older brother is now a big part of my life, and he is a blessing to my siblings and I. There have been times in the past when I have confused people when I tell them that I'm named after my parents, and I introduce them to my dad, the man that actually raised me. My dad is my stepfather, Keith, that has been in my life since I was around 5 or 6 years old. He continues to be active in my life, and I am forever grateful for that. So I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, but I'm also a wife and a mom. 2 hats that I wear proudly. My husband, Philip, and I, we met in high school and have been the best of friends since. And I sometimes reflect and I am reminded that through the ups and downs with the family drama, my mom no longer being here, and going through seasons with friends and life in general, he has been the one constant in my life. Geomyra as a mom is someone that kills herself every day to make sure that her babies have more than they deserve. I go above and beyond for them because you know what? That is what my mother did for me. And I sometimes wonder, what did I do to deserve them, even when they drive me crazy at times? And I am especially thankful for them when I hear stories of loss and grief and disappointment from some of my friends and people in my tribe who may not have children yet or may be trying to conceive. So that's what actually makes me feel even more grateful for the blessings that I have. And so the other extension of myself is my business and the drive that I have to build something amazing under the GLP Ventures brand, which houses Coaching for Creatives, which is my consulting coaching firm. And also GLP Ventures houses A Well-Rounded Life, which is this podcast and some other fun projects we have coming your way. And GLP Ventures also housed my former wedding planning company, Geomyra Weddings and Events. As a coach for creatives, I work tirelessly to make sure that my clients have results that exceed their expectations. I pour into each client because I don't take it for granted that they chose me. They chose me to help them live out their passion and walk in their purpose. Because I have gone through a lot personally and have accomplished some amazing milestones professionally, I am grateful for the opportunity to share and give back in this particular season in my life. I just mentioned that I work tirelessly for my clients and I go above and beyond for my children and my family. But back in the day, all I knew was hustle and go, go, go. Which I am sure that may be the case for some of you out there who are chasing what you believe is your dream. I didn't take the time to stop and do things the way that may be conducive to what we may think a well-rounded life is. And I want you to do me a favor and raise your hand if you are guilty of that. Are you someone that's running at 100 miles an hour, go, 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 and you really aren't living well-rounded in this particular season? So just pause right there and just think about, are you living well-rounded where you are? Because I can tell you, back in the day, that was not me. I tried to make my husband a priority, my children, my clients, both full-time jobs that I had at the time. And I still wanted to be available to do things with friends and to be there for them and just be everything to everybody. And I did that for years, up at 5:30 to make it to my corporate gig by 8, in bed by 2 a.m. after sending out client proposals, contracts, and invoices and all that kind of stuff. And you know what? That worked for a few years until I was forced to have several seats, as they say. That was my norm and my way of life until about 2 years ago, I would say. And I'm going to take you back to where I was in May of 2017. Around that time, my daughter had recently turned 7, and my boy was 2 and some change. I was preparing to celebrate the recent completion of my MBA, and I was running my wedding planning business full time back then as well. And coaching for creatives was also revving up. So I was doing wedding planning and then also working with some people on the side for coaching. And I felt like I was in my element. I was a boss mom, wifey, go-getter, and then some. Until I wasn't. Until I started getting unexplained migraines that were debilitating. Until I started experiencing random pains that started in my knees and then they moved to my hands. Until I would feel so fatigued and exhausted in the middle of the day after sleeping for hours and hours the night before. I still was tired. Until I just didn't feel like myself at that time. And after countless visits to multiple doctors and various types of tests, I'm talking my primary care doctor, a neurologist, endocrinologist, rheumatologist, MRI, CT scans, endoscopies. After all of that, I was finally diagnosed. After 7 months of doctor's visits, blood work, tests, the rheumatologist finally diagnosed me with fibromyalgia. The crazy thing is, after describing my symptoms to a few people, the thought of having fibromyalgia was placed in the back of my head. I didn't know much about it at the time. And during that time, I was also told that I could have celiac disease or even MS, or a few other things were also mentioned as a possibility. But my blood work proved that that was not the case. Instead, I am living with fibromyalgia. As a mom in her mid-30s, small children that I have to take care of, and a passion to serve others, the diagnosis was a very hard and unexpected pill to swallow. But let me pause and back it up for a little bit and explain exactly what the musculoskeletal disorder is. So hard for me to say that word. I'm not even going to try again. Fibromyalgia, or fibro for short, is a chronic condition that causes pain all over the body at random times. It's just pain in random points at random times, and it's just all over at any given moment. Fibro also can cause really bad migraines, sleep problems, fatigue, tingling or numbness in your hands and your feet, again, at any given time. People with fibromyalgia, they also may be more sensitive to pain than people that are living without fibro. And believe it or not, fibromyalgia affects about 4 million adults in the US, which is about 2% of the adult population here. And the interesting thing about fibromyalgia is the exact cause of it is unknown. There are different factors and things that come into play, but there's not like one thing that doctors can say, okay, this is how you got fibro. There are different ways that people try to manage the pain. However, there's no cure for the condition at this time. So instead, you just try to do what the doctor tells you. You take what medicine they give you, and then you just continue to live your life. But what I found to be most challenging with living with this disorder is that fibro is also referred to as the invisible disorder. And living with fibromyalgia is hard to explain unless you've actually experienced it. You may have family members that have fibro and may be dealing with it, but honestly, you guys, it's just so hard to explain what is happening and what is going on. And what makes it most challenging is that you look like you're fine. You look like there's nothing wrong with you. And I show up every day, made up, put my face on, my makeup, I smile, I look like life is peachy. And because fibro is the invisible disorder, I tend to be very quiet about the fact that I've been diagnosed or that I am in pain sometimes. But you know what? I do that because I don't want people around me to feel like they need to take care of me. I don't want people to even have to deal with it because I feel like it's my condition. It's my thing. The other thing is, like, physically, I look fine. People say, oh, how are you doing? How are you? And the automatic answer is we always say good or fine. But some days we're not. But you know what? The reality is that there are going to be some hard days. But now I force myself to recharge on those days so that I can show up 100% of the time on those good days. Because I now know what I am facing for the rest of my life. I made a decision. I decided to make a few changes in my life, and I shifted my mindset. I decided that although I have an excuse to stop working and to slow it all the way down, that I was going to do things differently. So what does that look like for me? Well, now I am more intentional with my time, and that's because there are days where I need to rest and I need to recharge. I'm more intentional with the clients that I take on in my business, and that's because I want to love on them well without excuses, and I want to be fully committed to my clients. I decided that my family is always going to be most important to me, right behind me making my health and myself the top priority. I used to burn the candles at both ends until the job got done. But God stepped in and he changed all that. And I'm not going to lie and act like times I don't get frustrated because I can't do all the things that I did before. But then I smile. I smile when I realize that my new mindset, my new way of showing up and being intentional has actually been a blessing in disguise. I stopped chasing the dollar, and I onboarded my well-rounded life assistant, who you will meet here on the podcast soon. I love her to pieces. And I brought on some people to help me do and manage all the things. And I stopped going at 100 miles an hour until exhaustion set in. Instead, I started to do what feels good and what feels right. And I tell you all of this because I want to remind you that we all have a choice to decide how we manage our time and who we serve. I have decided my work hours, I decide my rest hours, and I also now decide what works best for me, mentally and physically. Health condition or not, you can do the same thing. You can stop chasing the crazy and start living and doing with more intention. And you can choose to do what feels good and what fills your cup each day instead of chasing what empties your cup and drains you, which was me at one point. You can decide. And I want to encourage you to do this before you may not have a choice like some of us. And my grandmother back in the day would tell me to slow down. She would end conversations on the phone, and sometimes she still does. She'll say, Gia, take your time, okay? Slow it down sometime, all right? Okay, Ma, I would tell her. But now I can confidently tell her that I am moving slower, that I am taking my time, that I'm making the most of my days, being intentional with who I serve while I continue to walk in my purpose while taking the best care of myself. taking care of me means that I can actually take better care of them. And them as in my babies, my man, my clients, and everybody that I want to love on. So it's your turn. It's your turn to slow it down and be more intentional. And I have a question for you. You know I love my questions. If you could serve well, take care of your family and yourself, what does that look like to you? How does that look without burning yourself out? And I want you to do some thinking this week as you continue to build your empire and or as you continue to love on the people that matter to you most. All while finding time to take care of yourself. Because guess what? You can do that. You can take care of yourself. You can take care of the people that you love, your clients, and you can do all of those things without sacrificing your health and your well-being. Because your health matters, your sanity matters, you matter. So that's me, Geomyra. Mom, wife, business owner, well-rounded life and business coach, a gal living and thriving with fibro without making excuses. So I want you to introduce yourself, friend. I want to get to know you as well. Send me at that DM, shoot me an email, and let's connect. And most important, if you feel that this episode may be a blessing to someone, I want you to do me a favor and I want you to share it. Share this episode with someone that may be in a season where they may be dealing with something health-wise. They might be feeling a little off. Just share it. You just never know how it may be a blessing to someone else. Thank you for listening to me as I uncover and I reveal what I haven't been able to do until now. And I don't know if you could tell, but I'm smiling because I kind of feel like a weight lifted off of my shoulder that this is me. This is everything about me as far as where I am and what my life looks like right now in this season. And I'm so grateful for that. And I appreciate you for listening. And I will check in with you next week. Same time, same place. Love you guys. Bye. Friends, thanks for kicking it with us this week. Remember to subscribe so you're notified when a new episode airs. I'd love it if you leave us a review and share this goodness with your squad. Until next time, seek a well-rounded life and remember to focus on what matters most.